Welcome back to the Impact Agent Podcast. I am your host, Jason Will. This podcast is sponsored by JPAR Coaston County. That is the JP & Associates corporate franchise that I am responsible for building across the state of Alabama, and it's an honor to have that assignment. Today I wanted to share a portion of an amazing conversation I had with a young 32-year-old serial entrepreneur and nationally recognized speaker and native of my home county here on the Alabama Gulf Coast, Baldwin County, Mr. Kevin Mohler. I want to encourage you to go to Kevin's website at strategiclifedesign.com. If you got an event that's coming up and you're looking for a speaker, I'm going to highly encourage you to hire Kevin, but you're going to want to hire him after you listen to this episode. Now, the podcast we recorded was super long. It was well over an hour, almost getting close to the 2-hour mark. So what my producer and I did was decide to cut out a portion of that discussion, the most impactful portion of that discussion, and share it with you. So I know you guys are going to enjoy this conversation with Kevin and get a lot of value out of this podcast. And if you do, please share it with somebody that needs to hear these words. And again, thank you so much for supporting Impact Agent Podcast. And you can listen to all of our prior episodes at impactagentpodcast.com. Ready? Ready to rock and roll? Is that action? All right. Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Absolutely. Go. Go.
Hello, everybody. It's Jason Will with
Go.
So this is a real estate podcast, but we talk about leadership, personal growth, and becoming the best version of yourself. Leadership, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Growth, best version of yourself. Go. So this is a real estate podcast. All right, so what about events, like live immersive events? Have any of those just been eye-opening? Because I hear people talking about like UPW and things like that. So anything that you've gone to that's just been like crazy, enlightening for you?
I mean, I'm going to sound almost like a fanboy because almost every big event I feel like I've been to has been life-changing, and I don't want to be so cliche. It's like, oh, change your life. Yeah, change your life, like for real. I mean, I've seen Tony Robbins twice. I've seen Brendon Burchard. I've spoken next to Grant Cardone, Les Brown, Jack Canfield. I mean, so a lot of these events that I go to and I'm speaking at, I'm blessed to be able to actually attend too.
Yeah.
So I go to a ton of different events and get around people that are just, you said the word, immersive.
Yeah.
It's one thing to watch a concert on TV. It's another to be in the audience. Mm-hmm. It's a totally different experience. I mean, to be able to feel what it's like in that room and to feel the energy that's in that room and the impact and being so immersed that you're not checking text messages while the speaker's talking. They're right there in front of you.
Right.
And it just consumes you in a good way. I've been to a bunch of events that have been like that for me. I mean, Brendon Burchard's was incredible. I mean, I'll never forget his teaching. It was so eye-opening when he talked about, the power plant doesn't have energy. It creates energy, and how we can create energy. Like literally when you're tired, you can choose to bring the heat. You can choose to bring the energy, the enthusiasm, and everything to the present moment. Like even when you're drained, you can make that conscious choice. And I encourage you to test it, try that, because it's true. I mean, you can go to an event. I mean, the other day I drove to Birmingham, drove 3.5 hours, did a 3.5-hour live training and a Q&A afterwards, went to the parking lot and did an hour training call nationwide, and then drove back home 3.5 hours.
Wow.
So tiring, but man, I brought the energy. I'm like, these people came for learning and I want to change somebody's life. So I brought the heat in the training, and afterwards it's a training call. And it's like, man, I'm exhausted. Bring the heat. You can choose to bring the energy. And I learned that from Brendon. Same thing with Tony Robbins and pattern interruptions, how we get in these ruts and things sometimes just become a new normal that's not necessarily good for us. The cup of coffee I had on the way over here to your office, beautiful office, by the way, the cup of coffee I had, it was funny. I opened up this cupboard that we have where we don't even store coffee. And there's this thing of chocolate almond coffee in the corner. And it was so funny because I bought that coffee probably 8 or 9 years ago, and it's been in this pressure sealed container. I have not noticed it because it's been in front of my face every time I open that cabinet door. I haven't even noticed it. It's been sitting right there. And all of a sudden today, before I came here, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been in there forever. So that's the coffee I drank. But it just reminded me that this is something that's been in my face so long that I don't even see it.
Right.
And it's a pattern. And Tony Robbins talks about breaking patterns. Like there's There's some habits and patterns in our lives that are serving us and making us better. They're the things that we hold on to that are our good routines or good habits that help us be successful or make breakthroughs in life. There's other ones that are just the opposite. And we get so much in a rut, in a routine, that we get these patterns. And sometimes we need to break that pattern and change something drastically. And, Tony Robbins talks about that in pattern interruption. And that's been eye-opening for me, because it's like, okay, what patterns in my life am I in that aren't serving me well? Was it something that I learned from childhood? Was it something that I just adopted that's not serving me? Like, what do I need to break? And Tony Robbins comes to mind. And another one was with Master Lloyd Irvin, who is a UFC fighting champion and runs a school, I believe in Nevada, that a lot of UFC champions have come through his classes. He's also an online marketing guru. He's made millions of dollars online. And I remember talking with him and said, do you have a coach? And he's like, no. I was just dumbfounded. He said, I have coaches. I have a boxing coach. I have a wrestling coach. I have a business coach. I have a marketing coach. And he just went through this whole thing. And it was like, man, just that one little snippet of asking a question and getting that answer. It was just eye-opening for me out of that 4-day conference that we were at together. That one sentence was just like, wow. And I'll tell you one more. James Malinchak, great friend of mine, was on the hit TV show, The Secret Millionaire, runs just an amazing business, prolific speaker, probably one of the top paid speakers that's not like an actual celebrity in the United States for sure.
Wow.
He's incredible. He lives in Las Vegas, and he's a great friend of mine. And I'll never forget one time when a guy asked him, he said, James, there's 500 people here at this event. It's $3,000 a ticket. How did you sell 500 tickets to this event?
Wow.
And he said, well, first of all, I didn't. There's 800 people here. But to answer your question, he said, I don't know one way to get 500 people in a room like this, but I know 50 ways on how to get 10, and I do them all.
Wow.
And it was like, whoa, it made me think instantly. So now when I'm doing marketing or something, or helping a client with their marketing, because I do some coaching stuff as well, I'm not thinking about like the one thing that's going to get them everything that they're looking for. I'm thinking about all the angles that we can apply, because that one moment at that seminar, it wasn't even part of what he was teaching. A random guy in the audience asked a question, and his answer stuck with me for 7 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's another underlying theme that's happening here in this podcast interview, which is the power of choice. Like, you talked about freedom being this driving force in your life, but you're choosing freedom, or you're choosing to adopt the compound effect and recognize all the little things need to happen to get you to that freedom. You're choosing to accept responsibility for all the hard work and sacrifices it's going to take to get you that freedom. You're choosing to develop a morning routine when you weren't even naturally a morning person. You're choosing to be a consumer of books and all kinds of content when you didn't even really like to read. You're just making all these decisions. You're choosing to put yourself in these situations or put yourself around people that are going to have an impact on your life. And so it really comes down to this power of choice. Do you feel like, is this a choice that everybody has?
Absolutely. If I can go from where I was at in my life to where I am now, and I feel like I'm just getting started, by the way, but if I can change that much, it's definitely a choice. I mean, every single day we wake up and we're filled with opportunities for the day. And if we seize the moment, we can change everything, because again, the small hinges swing big doors. I mean, it's the little things that we do compounded over time that can make drastic changes in where we end up in our lives. And that's what I have to wake up every single day and do, is make those choices. Are they always easy? No. Are they worth it? Yeah, absolutely. I want a marriage that's rocking. We've been married 8 years now. I still open the door for my spouse. I still help with things around the house. And let me tell you, dude, we go on dates every week. We travel together. Marriage is on fire. Why? It's intentional. It's the hard choices we make in that to put those deposits in that marriage so that it's thriving. I mean, this is the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. I want that relationship to rock. I want it to be amazing. So I put in that choice, regardless of how I feel. And we live in a world today where people tend to make these choices based on how they feel. And the problem with feelings is that they ebb and flow in every area of our life. Whether it's our business, we're going to have some days we feel like we're on top of the world. Some days we feel like we're depressed and nothing we're doing is working. Same thing with our marriages. Some days it's amazing. Some day you're like, man, is this going to work out? I mean, same thing with our health. We may deal with health challenges that come up. I mean, every single day, we cannot make choices based on our emotions alone, because if we do, we're going to be like a roller coaster, because emotions will always do this. So we got to make choices based on where this is going to lead us in the future. And it's choices that we can make every single day. We can choose what time we get out of bed. We can choose if we get enough sleep. We can choose if we eat nutritious foods. We can choose if we choose the hard route in our marriage and put in those deposits, put in the extra work to make it awesome. We can choose if we spend time with children or not. We can choose if we read the book or not, just 10 pages. We can choose if we're reading the Bible or reading some type of whatever to grow spiritually. Those are all choices we can make every day, just like brushing our teeth is a choice. Most people get up every day, they make the choice to brush their teeth. That's why they still have teeth, right?
Right.
Same thing with every other area of our lives. It's the small things we do compounded that leads us to success or failure. I mean, we're just like a banana. We're either getting ripe or we're getting rotten. The thing is, every day we can choose whether we're ripening or whether we're rottening in every area of our life.
Yeah, so whatever you feed thrives, and whatever you starve dies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a key point, I think, for people to hear. But what if I'm listening to this podcast or I'm watching and I'm really depressed, or I feel like the weight of the world's on my shoulders, or everybody's against me, the world's against me. Where do I start? Is the first choice I need to make mindset related? Is it going to talk to a pastor? Is it trying to see if I can borrow a book from somebody? Let's say I'm just broke and my top 5 people are a bunch of deadbeats and all share the same, irresponsible, misguided mindset that I do. Where do I start? What's the first step?
First of all, change the people you're around. I mean, the law of association tells us that the people we spend the most time with are shaping us more than we're shaping them. Period. We're becoming like the 5 people we spend the most time with, and that's your environment. So if you want to change your life, we need to look at your experiences. We need to look at your education, and we need to look at your environment. And the people that we have in our environment are doing something to us. And so that's the number one question: what are these people doing to me? Who am I becoming because of them? Because if they're broke, you're broke. If they smoke, you smoke. If they're positive, you're positive. If they're negative, you're negative. If they drink, you drink. I mean, literally, we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. It's called the law of association. And some people don't believe in that law, but it's like, look, you don't have to believe in gravity. But if you jump off of a building, we know what's going to happen. You don't have to believe. But that's the same thing with the law of association, is these associations are shaping us. So one is, who are you spending the most time with, because they're shaping and molding you. Number 2 is taking control of the things that you can control and putting your focus there, because a lot of people get depressed when they think about circumstances they have no control over, right?
Right.
Like if I'm disrespected, I can't control if someone respects me or not. I can be a respectable person, but I can't control whether they respect me or not. If I do work and I'm not getting recognized for that, I can't control if somebody recognizes me for my work, but I can take responsibility for doing good work that's worthy of being recognized. I can recognize myself and give myself a pat on the back. And so if we focus on the things we have no control over, it leads to depressive thoughts. When we think about the things that we have control over, it gives us the freedom of choice to actually do something and make a difference. So what is someone's focus? If they're down and depressed or in the rut or feeling like the weight of the world's on their shoulders, what are they looking at? Are they looking at circumstances they can't control or circumstances they can take control of? And a lot of times their focus is on the wrong thing. And when they focus on the wrong thing, you feel defeated because you feel like you can't do anything about it. When you focus on what you can do, that's where you create the light at the end of the tunnel. And you can start working your way towards it in any area of your life. That can be your marriage, your finances, your business, your health, your fitness. I mean, relationship with your kids, community, impact, any area of our life, we can focus on that and it can change how we feel. So thirdly, I would say act the way you want to feel, and soon you'll feel the way that you act.
Whoa.
Most people wait until emotionally they feel like doing something before they do it. And the challenge with that is it's like saying, hey, I'm a farmer, and once I have a harvest, I'll start planting seeds. It's like, no, you got to plant the seeds before you get the harvest. So if motion creates emotion, if we start moving in a general direction, that we start to feel better. It's the reason why, like, salespeople, like, the weight of the phone is so heavy until they make the first call. Then you make the second, third, fourth, fifth, because they're moving, right? They get that momentum. They get that synergy. So motion creates emotion. A lot of times if people wait till they feel ready or feel like they want to do something before they take the steps, look, take the steps and then all of a sudden you'll feel great. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been to the gym, didn't want to go. Everything in me said, not today, too busy, don't have time, don't feel like it, got a slight headache, whatever. Like, all these excuses come up. But as soon as I get in there and get moving, I'm glad I'm there.
Yeah.
Same concept. It's like, go to the gym, you'll feel like being there, versus wait until you feel like going to the gym, you're never going to be there.
Well, I find like just traveling anywhere, it doesn't, no matter how bad somebody's circumstances are, they got a phone. Like they're texting or they're calling, they've got a cell phone no matter how bad things are. And so I believe in this thing called virtual mentorship. You mentioned Brendan Bouchard, Tony Robbins. I mean, all these amazing people have YouTube channels and blogs, and you can find amazing things on, sites like Medium and all these different outlets. So is that someplace they can start to? I mean, let's say, because I always think people, especially people that are dealing with mindset issues, are seeing and hearing things through a negative lens, let's say, and they are a skeptical lens. So they might be saying, I hear you, Kevin, but it's easy for you. I mean, you got it all figured out, but what am I supposed to do with these 5 guys? How am I supposed to just ditch them? They're all I got. Is virtual mentorship an option? Like just start filtering things into your brain that have a different message.
I was doing a seminar one time and I was talking about the topic of personal development. And one of those individuals, like what you just mentioned, was in the audience. And this lady blurts from the back, she said, all that personal development is a bunch of brainwashing. And I said, exactly. Because the world is brainwashing us. The CNN stands for constant negative news. We turn on stuff like this. We're bombarded with everything that's wrong in the world, everything that's screwed up, why we're in dire circumstances. That's what's going into our minds. This is our computer. You talk to anybody about technology stuff, they tell you it's like the programming, right? The programming is what runs the whole entire system. Well, this is our programming. And what are we doing to change from the inside out? And it's incredible because most people, that's what they're marinating in every single day. You eat meat, right?
Oh yeah.
You have a secret recipe for steaks?
I've got a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most people, they take that meat and they marinate it, right? And they turn the grill on, they heat the grill up, and they take that steak and they throw that steak on the grill, and all of a sudden it's right. It makes you hungry a little bit. And when that hot grill, all of a sudden that marinade starts coming out of the meat, right? Well, that's what our lives are like. When the heat of the world turns up, whatever we've been marinating in is what pours out. And it's like, what are we marinating in? Are we marinating in CNN? Are we marinating through scrolling endlessly through Facebook and seeing this negative stuff? Who broke up with who's got this and that, who's going to jail? Like, what are we absorbing into our mind? Because that's what's going to be our experience. That's what we're marinating in. So when the heat of the world comes, that's what's going to pour out of us. And so what I say is, look, instead of taking that negative brainwashing, let's do some positive brainwashing. Because 2 people, the same talent, same ability, same everything, can have totally different experiences. I mean, if you look at skydiving is a great example. Skydiving causes a physiological response when someone jumps out of a plane. You got one human being whose brain secretes cortisol, which makes them depressed, dampers the immune system in the body, makes you even more susceptible to being sick. And you got another person that jumps out of the same exact plane, same altitude, same day, same everything, and their brain secretes endorphins. And they've got a euphoria rush, like other cannabinoids in the brain. Mm-hmm. It's like a total. So you got the same person with the same circumstance, but 2 different experiences, even though they really had the same experience. And that's the power of the way that we think. And I used to feel the same way. I'll never forget when I got started in business, I had a mentor that told me, here's all the things I should focus on and I should do. And one of those was reading books. And when I thought about self-help, I thought about, I'm motivated. I don't need all that self-help stuff. That's like for other people. I hate reading, not good at reading, don't want to read. I don't need all that stuff. Finally, he convinced me to read, and I've been a reader ever since because of the material that I got. And it made me awaken. And I started to see there's another world out there. There's another way of thinking about things, and I can make some changes, and I can learn this stuff. It's readily available. I mean, YouTube, you can get so much stuff for free now. I mean, I don't know if that was a thing 12 years ago, but I didn't know about YouTube 12 years ago. Today, it's readily available. You got an app called Pep Talk. Is amazing. Some of the most amazing speakers on the planet give free content in Pep Talk. So it's an awesome app. I've got content too, YouTube, where I pour out stuff there, and a blog. A lot of what pours into me is what I pour out into the world through just a different lens because I'm a different person.
Right.
But absolutely. I mean, we live in a world today where it's never been more readily available because of technology. And now it's free through YouTube, through podcasts like this. Personal development is anything that makes you better. So anywhere you can go to become a better person, that's what personal development is. And we should absorb it as fast as we can. Okay. So I think we've squashed that. I mean, literally. I mean, it's a choice. It's a choice. So people are going to have to own that reality. Just start. I mean, that's the thing. If someone doesn't read and I said, hey, you should read 24 books this year, it's like, whoa. Yeah, that's a lot. Well, what if you read 10 pages a day? The average book is 150 pages. So every 2 weeks, you've read a book. That's 2 a month. That's 24 a year. So again, it's like, hey, you think about 24 books. I'm not even a reader. Can you read 10 pages today? 5 in the morning, 5 at night, 10 during your lunch break, 10 right before bed, whatever. Fit in 10 pages. You're going to consume someone's life highlights in 2 weeks. Some of their best information that they've got that's worthy enough to write a book about. We're going to consume their highlights in 2 weeks. You do that 24 times in a year, you're a different creation. You're a totally different person. You won't recognize yourself, and the people around you won't either. They'll be saying, what are you doing? So.
You've talked a lot about how we are like emotionally led. You know, we're at the mercy of our emotions a lot of times. What are your thoughts on like living emotionally led versus living spiritually led? Would you describe yourself as somebody who's spiritually led?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. 100%. Do I have emotions? Absolutely. I'm human, right? So I'm going to have emotional circumstance. I deal with life like everybody. Jim Rohn says it best, says that the blowing of the wind doesn't determine our destination, it's the set of the sail. But the blowing of the wind blows on us all. Of good financial times and bad ones, good health times and bad ones. I mean, good economy, bad economy, good, you name it. Like we're all bombarded with stuff because we're all human and we have this human experience here on earth. But I'm very spiritually led. I can't say that my entire life I was, obviously. There was a point in my life where I made a decision to turn my life over to Christ. And that's what I put my faith and my trust in. And then from there, I've grown for 12 years of this path of sanctification. I'm not perfect, far from it. I make mistakes like everybody else. But I pray every single morning. You know, I get on my knees and say, you know, God, thank you for this day. And you have a plan. And it's a beautiful plan for my life. Doesn't mean it's easy. It's a plan for my life. You want me to make an impact, and I want to make an impact the way that you've designed for me to do. And I don't always know what that looks like. I woke up today and God's led me today, and tomorrow he's going to do it again, you know? So I follow that every single day because I found that when I put him as my captain, then I'm going to go in the right direction. When I'm the captain, I can't always say I'm going to go the right direction, and I don't want to crash. So put my Savior in the captain's seat of my life, and I follow his will for my life, and I pray for it every single day. So absolutely, I'm spiritually led big time.
And so if somebody's looking to understand what spiritually led means, I mean, I think you obviously just described it in great detail, but let's just say I'm listening and I'm just so jaded and I'm just like, Kevin, that's silly. You believe in some hocus pocus mythical fairy tale and that's sweet and cute. But I have experienced a lot of death and hardship in my life and people taken away from me too early. And if there was somebody or some being worthy of this praise and this worship that you're pouring out every day, then I would be right there with you. But they wouldn't let this stuff happen. What do you say to that?
Well, a couple of different things. One, I've been through plenty of hardship in my life as well. Doesn't mean I can relate to everybody who may ever hear this message. Of course not. Some people have had experiences I'll never be able to relate to, but I've had plenty myself. And I could probably write a whole book about that, as most people that will ever listen to this message. But there's things that we don't understand sometimes because there's a bigger picture, and it's impossible for us to have the actual mind of God, right? I asked a guy one time when we had this discussion because he was a non-believer, and I respect that. He's, entitled to believe what he believes, and I believe what I believe, and we had a discussion about it. And he was trying to rationalize everything. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. Do you know everything about everything? And he said, no. I said, well, do you know half of everything about everything? And he said, no. I said, what if God's in that other half?
That's good.
None of us know everything. But how many times in our lives have we gone through an experience that felt like it should have never happened? And then later on, we had 20/20 vision when we looked backwards and said, oh my gosh, this was actually for my good. And we don't always understand that. It's like a child that's this big is never going to understand while dad says, you can only eat so much candy. You've got to eat broccoli and you've got to eat your chicken. And the kid's like, dad's a jerk. And it's like, no, dad loves the kid. But the kid doesn't know that.
Right.
Not yet. Like one day they grow up and they say, oh, I understand. If I ate candy every day and that's all I ate, like that's malnutrition and that's all kinds of problems, right? But the Father is loving. I'll put it this way. A lot of people go through life and they get hurt. Things happen to them, right? And if you look at an assassin who carries a knife and what they meant for evil with that knife of harming someone or killing someone, a surgeon can hold that same knife and do a surgery to help someone. Both are painful. And which category are we putting God in? Are we putting it in the assassin where he allows these bad things to happen to me? Or is he actually helping me even when I don't know it? And sometimes it hurts to have that surgery done, but it's making my life better in the way that it needs to be, in the way that it should be. And we're never going to understand everything because we have a finite mind. But if you look at the power of creation, you just look at your thumb and you think about 8 billion people on this planet and nobody's got this print. And no one's got yours. It's like God's little stamp saying, you know what, you're different. I set you apart. You're different than everybody else. Everybody who's ever been, everybody who ever will be will never have that thumbprint because I made you different. I made you unique. And to think that we all just happen to be here, that we all just fell out of nothing, is putting a lot of faith and trust in something we don't understand. And what I do is I put my faith and trust in something that I can't understand. And that's the God who loved me, that created me for purpose. He created me on purpose and for a purpose. And I just want to make him proud of what I do with my life. I want him to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. You were faithful with little. Come enjoy my kingdom with me, because I believe I was created. I feel everybody was created, even those that don't know it.
And there's I would say the vast majority of these personal development gurus, they all have, faith is a prominent component of who they are. So just take that for what it's worth. These people are brilliant and get paid. Brendan Burchard, was he get like $100,000 a speaking fee or something crazy?
Something like that. It's great. We had, I remember when I got to hear from Richard Branson of the Virgin Companies.
Wow. And
he spoke for an hour. It was $350,000. Speak for 1 hour.
Wow.
But it was profound. It was a profound experience. The one thing that he said that shocked me to my core, he was talking about Virgin Galactic at the time and how he was going to create this first, space travel program. And I thought that's why he was doing it, to be the first to create a program of its type. Sounds logical. And he said that he wanted to take people outside so they could look down on the earth, so they'd have more appreciation of it when they got back and do something for it. And he said that he believed that if everybody took on a problem that they had the capability of solving, whatever that was, how beautiful our world would be. So for some, their only capability is solving a problem in their own home. Some, it's their own street. Some of them could solve a problem in their neighborhood. Some could do it in their town. Some could do it in their state. Some could do it in their country, and some can do it globally. And if we all just took on a problem that we had the ability to do something about, can you imagine what beautiful world we live in?
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah. Very powerful.
Everything we're talking about is talking or touching on choice. Even when we were just talking about, faith and the existence of God and being spirit-led, that really boils down a lot to choices. Yeah. And then understanding that I just feel like people that are trying, like you said, people that are trying to figure everything out are always going to be miserable.
Yeah.
You're not meant to understand everything.
Right.
It's just like you said, earlier, just, focus on your house, not the White House. Are you scared to death right now that this virus in China is going to come wipe you out?
No. And it could.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you can't control it if it does.
I can't control that. And the crazy thing, it's not crazy. It's beautiful, is that God makes us all so different that he's got people that he has literally conditioned and prepared to be able to focus on something like that and make a difference. Just like the whole White House comment. The reason I made that is because I'm not in politics, but God created some people to be in politics so they can go make a change with politics because that's what they were created to do. I'm created to take care of what God gave me to take care of. And a lot of times I think we take out of context the scripture. It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Well, here's the thing. None of us can do all things. We can do all things through Christ that strengthens us to do what he's called us to do.
Right.
So that's my paraphrasing of that verse is, I can do all things that God has created for Kevin to do. I can do them all. And he's going to equip me for that. And he's going to enable me for that. But I can't do all things. I can't be in China and in New York at the same time. It's impossible. I'm a human. But I can be where God wants me to be and I can do what God wants me to do. Right? So, yeah. It's what are you putting your faith and trust in? Everybody puts it in something.
I went through a powerful leadership training. It's Discover Leadership training. It's a guy named Mike Jones who runs this. It's wild. They take your phone away for 4 days. You're just, they stress you out. They put you in high anxiety situations, a lot of teamwork. But one of the principles of this leadership training program is that there is an I in team. And that I is like individual.
i.e. personal responsibility, which we've talked a lot about today. And, it's just taking personal responsibility for what you can control. All these people that are, it's like they're welcoming this virus. They go, well, there's another reason why I should give up.
Yeah. I can't live like that. That to me, that's like depressing. I mean, I want to wake up every single day empowered to move forward, to do something, to grow, to live. I mean, look, congruence in life is what you take what you're capable of doing and what your actions are, and they align. And that's where we feel alive.
Right.
Like it's when we're actually doing things. I mean, that's the reason why some people look and they say, oh, this person's just money hungry because they're always just, man, they're working so hard. They're congruent. They feel good about themselves. Like you can only sit at home so many days before you're going to be depressed. You got to get up and move. I mean, I can't tell you how many friends I have now that are retired that are as busy as what they ever were when they were not retired. Because there's only so many days you can sit on the front porch. There's only so many days you can go on vacation. There's only so many days in a row that you're going to feel like fishing. And finally, something's got to change. Like we weren't created to sit still. In fact, retire is not even in the Bible. It doesn't exist.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were created to do. We were created to create. We were created to serve. We were created. And when we do those things, we feel alive. 100% of us. Even those who said, Kevin, I don't believe in the scriptures. I don't believe in that. That's fine. The principles are still there. When we do what we're capable of doing is when we feel the most alive and the most fulfilled.
I think that's really powerful. The principles are there.
The principles are there.
And we've been talking a lot, in this interview about principles and priorities and all these things. And it all boils down to choice.
You got it. And that's the reason why I call it strategic life, by the way. Strategic life design is because it is living a life through a strategy, moving pieces of your life the way that you actually are capable of doing. If you take a moment to actually move and plan things out, most people plan a vacation but don't plan a life. They spend more time planning a vacation than they ever do anything else. And you know what's unique is that if you actually take someone whose wedding day, right, their wedding day, how long does the average person plan a wedding? It's 9 months. That's the average. Right. And how accurate everything that they had in their mind, right? This is mainly geared towards the ladies statistically. But what her beautiful day in her mind that she planned so hard for, put blood, sweat, and tears, looked through Pinterest and albums and magazines and talked with people and all these meetings, all this stuff for that one day and that one moment. And that one moment was so accurate that I forget the statistics now, but it's over 90-something% accuracy of what they originally saw and what they actually got because they planned for that 9 months to make it a reality. Most of us don't do any planning in our life. We float around like a ping pong ball in a wind tunnel, just bounce around aimlessly and then wonder why we don't end up where we want to go. I mean, that's like getting drunk, turning circles and throwing in a dart and saying, I didn't hit the bullseye. Well, of course you didn't. You didn't even know where you were at. You didn't have a target. Of course you're not going to hit and enjoy the destination, and that's what strategic life design is all about. It's about being strategic, saying I am in control. I can make the moves in my life on this board, and I'm going to strategize and I'm going to go forward with an intelligent plan as best as I can, put my best foot forward and move because it's my time to make a move.
I'm in control of me.
That's right.
All right. Okay. So let's say, I want you to go over your morning routine again, but like when you went through it the first time, like my brain felt like a fried egg. But I'm sure it wasn't that strategic when you started out. I mean, you started out small and then it compounded into this 2-hour all-out power morning session that gives you the fuel for the rest of your day.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I just feel like life a lot of times is paint by numbers. You really need to simplify it. Like you said, like taking that $10,000 in 12 months and taking it to $27 of savings a day, and just breaking things down to where it's just simpler. But where did your morning routine start? And then go through it one more time where it's evolved to this 2-hour session.
So originally my first morning routine was non-existent. I mean, that's the important part. I mean, I woke up because I was a night owl, so I'd stay up super late and then I would get up and it wouldn't be early. And guess what? I'm waking up when the world was already up. So I woke up, my phone was full of messages. I had text messages. I had emails I hadn't looked at. I had phone calls that I had missed. So I had to wake up and see what the heck is going on before I could start my day. And so it started out in chaos. And so what I've learned is that you can bookend your days. You can start a day a certain way. You can end it a certain day. You can't always control the chaos in between, but you can control the bookends. And so I decided that I was going to finally become a morning person, that I was going to make that happen. And so I get up in the morning now. I get up at 5 a.m. almost every morning with very little exception.
Even the weekends?
Mostly on Saturdays, not Sunday. Usually Sunday is kind of a recharge day for me.
Okay.
And I definitely don't work on Sunday, most Sunday mornings at least. You know, I may do something in the evening, but most of the time I'm not. So Sundays is kind of my off day to really recharge physically, emotionally, work-wise, you name it. But most mornings I get up at 5 a.m., I hydrate with a glass of water to get my system hydrated because most of us, we wake up dehydrated. So I get a glass of water, and from there I make a cup of coffee and a kettle of tea, all organic, by the way. And then I sit down and I read 3 chapters of the Bible. I read my personal development book, whatever book I'm in, and I read my devotional. And then from there, I plan a beautiful day. I plan a day that's going to rock and roll. Like, what needs to happen today to be absolutely amazing? What does my day look like? What's in my calendar? Who am I going to meet with? What am I going to do with them? How can I serve today? What am I grateful for? And I literally create, and every day maybe a little bit different. I don't have a certain gratitude thing. I don't really journal, but sometimes I jot down some notes. It's just, look, what's going to make today awesome? And I write all that out. And then I pray as well. And then at that point, it's time for my workout. And I do a rigorous, sweaty workout, work my tail off, and I take a shower. And after that, I get dressed for whatever my first meeting or my first activity is for the day. And I'm ready to rock the world at that point because I've been up, got a little bit of caffeine, had a great workout, started my day with clarity of thought and with gratitude, and figured out how I was going to make today amazing. And by the way, I do all that without checking my phone.
Wow.
No text, no email. I've got them. I just refuse to look at it.
Yeah, they're there.
They're there, but I'm not going to look at them. I'm not scrolling. I'm not even looking at my phone at this point. All the way from the morning until I am done with my morning. That's when I look at my phone.
Okay, so let's see if we can simplify this for the audience. So I hear a lot of what you're saying is like your vision. You're reflecting, but it's like vision casting. Like you're casting this vision for what you want your day to look like, what you expect it to look like. You talked about the bookends. Like I say a lot when I'm talking to realtors, like how you start the year or how you start the week is how you're going to finish it. Mm-hmm. So between those bookends, that's what you can control, and that like you're setting the tone for how you're going to end it. But through this reflection and vision casting, you're maintaining whatever semblance of control you're having through the day, but there's going to be distractions. There's going to be things you can't control. But through this intentional thought, you're actually establishing some guardrails to kind of keep you on track. So if somebody was going to do something very simple, we're trying to establish a discipline, right? So we should try to get up at a set time. And so maybe they don't start at 5, they start at 6, and they're just going to work their way up to 5. Cause you said you weren't a morning person. Is it cold turkey 5 a.m. or did you have to kind of work up to it a little bit?
I tried to kind of work up to it. That didn't work out. I had to just say, this is my routine and this is what I'm doing. I read the book, The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma.
Yes. Great book.
And that was what I decided to use that as, this is my day. This is my time. And for 66 straight days, 7 days a week, I got up at 5 a.m.
And that's what it takes to, 66 days is what it takes to formulate a habit, right?
According to the science that he put in the book, he said 66 days. Basically 22 days of deconstruction, 22 days of construction, and 22 days to get to automation. And I stuck by it. I said for 66 days in a row, I'm getting up. And the cool thing is that created enough of a routine where if I am traveling or if I'm changing time zones like crazy and I need to adjust so I do get enough sleep, because I do want enough sleep. Like, I can't tell you how many people listen to this modern, I call it just a bunch of crud. They listen to this modern stuff about no sleep. And it's like, look, your body needs rest.
Yes.
Like, period. And I could do a whole talk on that. So I do want to have at least 7.5 hours of sleep on average. That doesn't mean I'm going to get that every night, but on average, I want 7.5 hours of sleep. But what it did is that even if I travel, so like the next day I need to recoup so I get close to 7.5 hours and I don't get up at 5, I can easily start back up. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Whereas used to, it was a massive problem. Like that was not easy for me. Like I said, that blog post that I wrote about the early bird doesn't get the only worm. Because I was talking about, I was not a morning person. I was a night owl, and I just finally embraced it one day. And that was fine. It worked, but this is better. This is a lot better.
Yeah.
But it was not easy. It was not easy, but now it's pretty simple.
So set a commitment to get up and start your day and take ownership of that. Something really simple I think they could do is just start thinking about a few things they're really grateful for that day and what they want to accomplish, and then get out and move their body. Maybe you think that's a basic way to kind of start formulating a movement routine?
Absolutely. And another little trick too, Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So if you cannot get out of bed, you can look her up on YouTube. I'm not going to do the whole training on this, but it's very simple. You just tell yourself in the morning, say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And you can be sitting there and you can make your plans that you're going to snooze, or man, this is tough, or I don't feel like getting up today. Maybe I'm not going to. Just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull the covers off and conquer the world.
Just that simple.
It's that simple. Watch her on YouTube. You'll see it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's scientific.
That's a choice.
It's choice. It's choice.
All right. So let's talk about, let's recap what you're doing. So you're an entrepreneur, but a lot of it is around these causes or helping others. And I imagine there's a great deal of fulfillment in that. But how can people learn more about what Kevin Mohler's doing, how they can get involved, and if like autism is something that's near and dear to their heart, how can they connect with you? Or like, I'm sure you're doing like fundraising for a lot of this stuff, or how can they get involved in it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, just look me up, Kevin Mohler, Mohler. If you Google that or any of the social media channels, I'm on everything from Snapchat to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Website is strategiclifedesign.com. All my social media channels is strategiclifedesign.com/social. So everything I'm on is going to be on that page. But as far as, getting involved, as we mentioned earlier, I've got HemaCare Plus. That's our specialty pharmacy. We treat kids with bleeding disorders in Alabama. The American Autism and Rehabilitation Center is a 10,000 square foot facility. We treat autism, Asperger's, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, ADD, ADHD, sensory processing disorder, like you name it. That's AmericanAutismCenter.com. Our nonprofit is American Autism Rehabilitation Foundation. Both, if you go to AmericanAutismCenter.com, you can click on nonprofit. It's right there. We have a golf tournament coming up on April 17th. This is our first big fundraiser. It's called Tea Time for Autism, which is cool. All the info is on our website. So if you're listening to this and you want to sponsor that, or you want to just golf at it or make a donation, you can do that at AmericanAutismCenter.com.
Are you golfing at it?
I'm not. I'm going to look like a golfer. I'm going to hang out with golfers, but I will not be golfing.
Yeah.
So that, we have our hyperbaric oxygen therapy facility. So if you know of anybody, look, we're impact driven, as you can tell, right?
Yeah.
If you know anybody that's got a traumatic brain injury, concussion, stroke, complications healing after surgery, certain bacterial infections, a neurological condition, Alzheimer's, dementia, there's a lot of things that hyperbarics can help, and there are a lot of things that science shows is capable of helping, if that makes any sense, depending on the patient and what's really going on. But AmericanHBOT.com, American Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy, right? The center is called American Hyperbaric Center.
Where is it located?
These are in Daphne. All of these are in Daphne, Alabama. Okay. And then my public speaking business, strategiclifedesign.com. And then lastly is my legal shield business, which is at myshieldoptions.com.
Let's talk about the speaking business real quick. As you know, it's difficult to try to get you to the end of this interview because there's just so much going on with Kevin Mohler. But are there some big topics that you are just like, that you just own, like they're your thing, your specialty, that people may hear this and go, oh gosh, I need to book him for my event because he sounds like he is an expert in this area? Biggest one for me is mindset. Not just a general overview of mindset, but it's a deep dive in how we think on a personal level. So someone can understand themselves so much better and say, why do I procrastinate? Why do I start something and never finish it? Why do I not feel like doing these things I know I need to do? Why am I not doing the things that I know I'm capable of doing? There's a reason. And if you can deep dive into a personal understanding and know thyself and understand how the mind works, how I work, and how I'm in control to change it, then you can create a different life. So one of the things I love doing is going into an organization and talking to the coordinator of that event 6 months later and saying, hey, are you getting any feedback? Because I like to deep dive in principles that have taken me up to this point 12 years of learning, and a lot of having to pull myself through a lot of these things. You know, being 20 years old, being a college dropout, being a construction worker, like who are you to think you're going to do anything big? That was where I came from, being a non-reader, hating education,
to where I'm at today is a totally different Kevin Mohler, like a totally different person. I had to pull myself through a lot of garbage, through a lot of stuff, and overcome a lot of things and learn a lot about myself. And I'm still learning to this day. But that's one of the biggest topics that I get booked on. It's kind of under the umbrella of motivation because it helps people to lift themselves to a higher standard. So a lot of times I go into companies and train staff and employees to help change the environment that they work in every day and help people feel that they're responsible for doing like what you talked about earlier, the I in team. Mm-hmm. And, I love teaching about responsibility as responsibility. It's the ability to respond, right? Do you have the ability to actually do something? And when I go in and talk to companies, I like to talk to the individuals, help them to understand more about themselves, how they can actually change the way that they work and some of their programming and help them to reframe to create this new life. And a lot of times that impacts every area of their life because, again, our mental programming runs everything. Our marriage, our home, our finances, our careers, our education. So that's the biggest thing I think I'm known for in terms of the feedback I get after I leave organizations. So I do that I've spoken for associations, spoken for the National Association of Basketball Coaches, the Golf Coaches Association of America, spoke at company conferences, personal development seminars all over, board meetings, talking to high-level executives on how top-down they can make an impact on their company. You name it. There's various ways that, that I get booked to go into organizations. My number one lens that I look at everything through is, can I make an impact? If I can, we have an option to work together. If I can't, I usually refer them because I know a lot of speakers.
They say mindset is everything. I think you made a pretty strong case for that. I mean, I think a lot of people out there just don't feel like their mindset is, I don't have a choice. Like I can't change my circumstances. But really, you maybe you can't change your circumstances, but you can choose how you respond to those circumstances. So mindset is huge. I mean, just getting people to a place of clarity where they can just see the choices that are in front of them are powerful. But man, this has been a great interview. So many nuggets. Like, wow. Anything else you want to plug or talk about, or people to just kevinmohler.com?
It's strategiclifedesign.com.
Okay. So is there a kevinmohler.com?
I'm sure there is, but I don't own it.
What about that blog? Is that on Strategic?
I'm glad you said that. strategiclifedesign.com. I created an audio program that originally was created to sell, and I'm giving it away for free to all my readers because I'm just not going to sell it.
And what's that on?
It's called The Third Decision. And I don't want to say what the third decision is because that will kind of screw it up. We build up to it in that program.
Okay.
But it's very much about how to think about tackling things in life that matter the most. What should our mindset be on, do I start a business? How do I save my marriage? Am I ever going to break free financially? Man, I got this business idea, but I make enough living here at this job. I'm scared to let go. What do I do? Mm-hmm. I got this invention, but I don't know what to do with it. Like making a big move in life, it gives a lot of skills to be able to equip to make that type of decision. And I call it the third decision. It was part of an actual public speaking part of my curriculum, if you will, on this thing that I used to do with companies and associations and organizations. And I used to teach about the third decision. And I thought, you know what? That would be a great audio. So I literally put the whole thing together, mapped everything out, recorded it as, in the studio as an audio product that I was going to sell. And then later on, I just felt like I needed to give it away. I need to give it away. Because if people hear this, they may tell somebody about me and I'll get paid either way. Like someone's going to tell somebody and I'll get booked to speak somewhere.
Right.
So why don't I just get this audio out to everybody? And I've got it on my email list to be going out here soon. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, it'll be free. So if they sign up for my newsletter, they'll get it.
So all we have to do is decide to go to your website.
Yeah.
Decide to consume this content. And then how we respond with the knowledge you impart on us is up to us.
You got it.
Man, what a great interview. Thanks for joining us, Kevin Mohler, Impact Agent Podcast. This has been incredible. Can't wait to get this out to the masses.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you.
Give her a call. Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Impact Agent Podcast. If you liked the show and got something out of it, please like the Impact Agent Podcast on Facebook and rate and review the show on iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts. This really helps us grow the show and helps other agents find it. Please share it with your friends and coworkers as well. Want us to deliver the show to you via email every week? Then email me at jason@impactagentuniversity.com and we'll send you the show every week. Please let us know what you think about the show, what you like, what you don't, or possibly make a suggestion about a topic you want to hear. Email me at jason@impactagentuniversity.com or leave us a message on Facebook at Impact Agent Podcast. Until next week, everybody be productive, safe, and happy, and always keep learning. This podcast is produced by Johnny Gwynn at Deep Fried Studios in Mobile, Alabama, and is paid for and powered by ImpactAgentUniversity.com.